one. Playback please. Press bar marked visual playback. Appropriate replies. Watching. 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 Watching.
Hey everybody, it's Darren here. Welcome to Living in the New Renaissance. This is podcast number 9. You get to hear me with my sick voice today. I'm at home actually with crazy hair doing a podcast because I realized that I needed to do a podcast that's been kind of a recap. This is going to be titled The Road Thus Far Trevelled. This will be podcast number 9. I just want to explore some of the changes or some of the roadmap that I have here for the podcast, so you guys just are thinking, well, he's just kind of doing whatever. I actually do have a little bit of a plan and a roadmap for this, so just want to fill you guys in on where I'm going with it. So the idea behind Living in the New Renaissance is entirely the idea of exploring some of the changes that have been happening in society. Where we are going compared to where the Italian Renaissance happened and where it went. There was changes that happened with social. There was changes that happened in religion. There was changes that happened in finance. There was changes that happened in music and art and all these areas that happened as a result of the Renaissance. And I was looking at it and decided that we have the same things happening now that happened then. And I've seen aspects of that in my lifetime as well. Like when I was first started off, you had terrestrial radio, AM and FM were both really popular. You had television that was like kind of a new form of AM or of radio as well, that had moving pictures in addition to your video. In addition to your audio. And to me, thinking back about that got me thinking that I've seen some of these changes that have happened in my lifetime, and I'd like to go and explore some of that in a video. And when I was reading up about the Italian Renaissance, I discovered that we had a lot of changes that were happening that were sort of similar in a way to what they had going on during their period of their lives. So I decided to do the podcast Living in the New Renaissance as a result of that. So I'm going to give you just kind of an idea of what these have been about and how they relate to each other and the roadmap that I have. So podcast number 1 was entirely about the introduction to the concept. This is what we're doing, where we're going, what I'd like to see, what I'd like to do, etc., etc. Podcast number 2 was entirely, I had the opportunity to interview somebody who was an MLA for the area, and got to explore a little bit about some of the political side of some of the changes that are happening as a result of our changes in our society. And O'Neill is operating from more of a leftist viewpoint, and I felt that was a good place to start, well, realistically, because of the opportunity too, right? Podcast number 3 was Ask a Geezer, and that was exploring some of the changes that had been happening in my own lifetime, and it'll be done as future ones with other people as well, because I really think that there's some value in Ask a Geezer, and also potentially the counterpoint of Ask a Teen, if I can find somebody to do that too. So that would be future podcasts. Also, we have podcast number 4, which was the interview with Alex. And Alex is an antique dealer, first and foremost. So I wanted to explore some of the changes in technology and the stuff that went through his shop, because he has stuff coming through his place from all eras. So I thought it'd be interesting to go and talk about some of those technological advances or technological changes that have happened as a result of his purchases and stuff that he's seeing go through there. Podcast number 5 was the podcast with RJ, who's a choir director. And with him, I want to explore some of the ideas of some of the changes in music that have happened as a result of the technological changes. Podcast number 6 was the interview with Dr. Carly Howitt. And 6 and 7, they weren't originally supposed to go together, but I had another one in there that I dropped because I realized I'd explored aspects of that in number 3. So 6 and 7 was an exploration into the early map makers of the solar system. The people that are out there going and doing the original mapping that we will have in the future times for space exploration. And it will interrelate with other podcasts I'll be doing in the future that will be, hopefully, I'm hoping to get podcasts with Blue Origins or Virgin Galactic or SpaceX, who would be the shipbuilders that would be taking our people out into space. And I'd like to get a interview with Bigelow Aerospace, if I can, to explore some of the cabin builders. Once we get to where we're going, after we followed the maps to get there, we need to have somewhere to live and to build from. And that's what I want to discuss with somebody from, let's say, Bigelow Aerospace. So that's 6 and 7. 8 is the podcast with Shane Getson. It hasn't been released as of yet, at this moment, publicly, because I still have to get the go-ahead from his people to do that. But he is from the UCP party in Canada, or in Alberta, that is the United Conservative Party. And I wanted him to do an interview with him and also the Alberta Party rep. If I can get somebody from the Alberta Independence Party as well, to explore all those aspects inside the political scene, to explore everybody I can get to for some of the changes for future in Alberta for politics. And that would be, if I can get the Alberta Party rep, that would be probably in the low teens. Now, that takes us right up to this video, which is number 9, where I'm recapping all of this. Number 10, I'm hoping to get a guest in the next day or two for doing a video on the new money, which is going to be cryptocurrency, and also exploring the fiat system, which most people may not think is a new system, but it's actually relatively new. Only came really into operation in about the 1860s in North America, and really became widespread after about 1912 in North America. So I want to talk to somebody about fiat as well. But cryptos is an interesting concept because literally I've heard both sides of the fence that it will be the new money that will replace fiat, and I've also heard the discussion of how it's just vaporware, and that's designed to go and funnel money away from people and money launder for criminals. So I'd like to explore that a little bit. That would be podcast number 10. Podcast 11, 10, and potentially future ones as well. Podcast 11, I want to do a digital art person because I want to explore the changes in art that have happened. And I know a guy who knows a guy, and I also know a guy directly, and I'll see who I can get for doing number 11. And that would be exploring some of the changes that have happened in digital art. I might also speak to my cousin if he's willing to do it, because he is a original canvas painter. I'd like to talk to him about that aspect too. But it depends on if he's up to it. Somewhere around, and this is where the timeline gets a little fluid, so if I've said something already and I've changed the number, it's because it's fluid. Somewhere around 12, I'd like to go into the discussion of the new religion. And by new religion, I don't mean just simply nothing but New Age stuff. I mean how the churches have changed in modern times to accommodate the changing beliefs of some of their people. And this can be a discussion, and I hope it will be a discussion with somebody from various churches, whether it be pastors or people who are actually doing free-form New Age religions. I'd like to have people on to discuss both points. As well, that would be, like I said, probably 12 and maybe 14, somewhere in that range. The trick for that will be literally having a discussion with a pastor, as an example. I'd like to explain what I'd like to do with it, and then have him be comfortable with me going and presenting potentially a counterpoint. I feel that's necessary because that's disclosure. I'd like to also do a video on just listening to a motor go by. Somebody's out with a quad. I'd like to do a video on as well the Alberta oil patch. I think it needs to be done. I'd like to do a point and a counterpoint video. Somebody who believes very honestly that the pipelines and the oil production in Alberta needs to be expanded. And I'd like to go and ask them questions about how it could help protect the points of the counterpoint. The counterpoint video would be with a discussion with somebody about how they would like to see the oil sands and oil production in Alberta shut down, or at least severely limited. And I'd like to discuss with them what would replace the oil patch and alternative energy production in Alberta, or a way to go and maintain and build those jobs, so we actually don't just toss people out on the street and expect them to find work somehow, somewhere. And those would be the counterpoint videos. And let me see, what else would I like to do? Money, science, society, religion. Maybe a thing, and this is kind of a quasi sort of thing on fashion, might do a little bit of that. I don't have that much of an interest in it personally, and I don't think that it changes that much, because I see a lot of stuff that's recycled, at least it appears that way to me. So that might be just kind of a quasi thing. I just had another one float through my head that I discussed as well. Science, religion. I would like, oh yes, oil patch I mentioned. UFOs. I wouldn't mind doing a show on UFOs, both a pro and a counterpoint. I think it would be something that would be interesting to explore. The idea of, potentially aliens visiting the planet from, prehistoric times to now, I think it would be an interesting topic. See whether or not those experiences have changed as a result of the changing in society. I think that would be a cool thing to discuss. And the counterpoint, I like to discuss it with a skeptic who would be saying, well, yeah, it's all hallucinations or whatever, and I'd be asking them, okay, well then what exactly are they experiencing? I think I'd like to have that point too. I've been toying around with the idea of doing, and again, this isn't locked down, a life after death video. I know somebody I could discuss that with, but in order to do it, I'd have to find a way to mask their identity, I think. And I think that would be, because I don't want to out them, but I want to talk to them about their experience. So I think that would be something I'd have to ask them about, if there's a way to safeguard it. And I've thought about how I could do that, potentially just in putting up a static image for the person that would be not representative of who they are, and then voice masking their responses to questions. I think that would be the way to do it. But I need to discuss that with that person that I'm thinking of, or to find somebody else who would be good to go on camera. Let's see. Other than that, I would love to get somebody on just about pure theoretical craziness. I have somebody that I've been talking with that I think we'll do a follow-up to 7 on that one. That's potentially in the low teens as well. I just want to confirm it with him. So, one more aspect I want to do too is I'd like to do the counterpoint to that. It's people that go and believe that we should defund NASA or shut it entirely down, no longer shoot money into space. I want to talk to somebody from that aspect too and ask them what we would do with that sort of money. I'd like to have a discussion about people who potentially talking about the modern army and a counterpoint. I'd like to see a discussion with somebody who would like to see it shut down. I think that would be an interesting topic too. So that's some of the more pie in the sky type videos. I just wanted to present that to you so you knew what I was looking at and where we've gone so far and where I'm looking to go with it. And I think it would be making some interesting conversations. Sorry for the jerkiness of this video, by the way. I'm holding the podcast out, or an iPad out in front of me to record this video. I figured it would be the best way to do it, but the lighting's good here, so the bounciness is as a result of that. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll tune in to the next podcast, which I'm hoping will be on cryptos. Thanks a lot.
Control cylinders. Deselect. Playback. Visualization. 0. Automatically programmed. Deselect. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, with extinction. 0.